Ooh, water. Water.
Ooh, water. Was that thinner? Did you just drink thinner?
It was a little cloudy.
Cloudy like my urine.
Welcome to the Deadzone Podcast. Deadzone is the sci-fi tabletop miniature skirmish game from Mantic Games. And now, here are your hosts Rob Harper and Jack Fike. I am your announcer, William Randolph Wintergreen.
Welcome to the 33rd episode of Deadzone the Podcast for late April 2015. In this episode, we review the Kickstarter and go over what we're planning for future episodes. As always, you can go to deadzonegame.podbean.com to see all the pictures, or you can go to youtube.com/c/Deadzone the Podcast for the video version of this show. And now on to the episode.
Welcome to the Deadzone Podcast, episode 33. Hello, my name is Jack.
And I'm Rob, and this is our first episode after the Kickstarter, so we got a lot of news for that.
Is that what we're starting with? Some Kickstarter tidbits, the wrap-up?
Yep, we'll do a wrap-up for the Kickstarter, and then go on from there, and we'll talk about some other stuff. Sound good to you?
Sounds fantastic. Let's get this ball rolling.
Okay, Wintergreen, take us away.
We begin with our first segment, the news.
So, the news for this month, or this episode, is that the Kickstarter ended. And it ended pretty big.
How big was it?
Well, for the lockdown pledge, which is the one we went on, was the pretty much you get everything pledge. It ended up with quite a few things. Obviously, it started off with the hardback rulebook and the mission pack for the infestation. And you got, at the beginning, it was only like 5 enforcers, some dogs, and some other things. But by the end, you got 10 enforcers, 2 dogs, 2 jet bikes for the Pathfinders. And we're going to have pictures of all this on the website at deadzonegame.podbean.com. So go there and check them out. And for the Veermen, it looks like you get 15 Veermen plus 2 of the big Shredder guys. And that's just in the starter packs. Plus 10 Forge Father Steel Warriors. So more Forge Fathers. We're going to have enough for a faction now, for sure.
Well, it says plus the 10 bonus Forge Father Steel Warriors. They look different than the Forge Fathers I'm accustomed to seeing. So, different units. We'll be able to mix it up a little bit, too.
Yep, and hopefully they'll have stats for all these, obviously. And then you also got to pick a faction booster. Either the Enforcers, which are the Peacekeepers with a Strider, which is nice. Veermins, more Veermin plus a Beast, plus I think that's a Plague Mother. Or another Veermin booster, which is 2 more Shredders, a Progenitor, and Night Terrors, the weird green, skinnier-looking Skaven. Or the Heavy Chem Thrower booster, which is another Progenitor, and the big vehicle Chem, like artillery piece, Chem Thrower. Plagues get the new Plague Beast, plus some zombies. The Asterians are those new Asterian hand-to-hand girls, plus some drones. And then there's also got some single miniatures in this. There's a Teraton Shock Trooper, which is a male Teraton, so it's going to be slightly smaller, but they can teleport in, and they have hand-to-hand and shock abilities, obviously, with their name. A new leader for the Marauders, Chief Mahalak. A new bounty hunter named Adrian Nivovaski. Actually, I think that might be a Reb, actually. And a Hund bounty hunter, which they also said will work for the Rebs as just a generic Reb person. So tons of miniatures, which is always fun.
Now, which of the faction boosters did you choose?
I definitely chose I'm definitely getting Enforcer faction booster because I wanted to buy Peacekeepers anyways, and now I'm just getting a free Strider. And I think, I don't remember, maybe the Plague one? Just so you get the Plague Beast?
Oh.
We haven't chose yet. There's still time to choose. Or the Veermin one, because the Veermin, you get the... Oh, actually, with this one, you get all the boosters. You don't even get to choose. It's the other one you have to choose. This one, you get them all. All Infestation faction boosters. So no choices.
Jiminy Christmas. Oh, okay.
The lower one, the lower level, you have to choose one. But this one, you get them all. So cool. And plus, not to mention, huge amount of scenery sprues. You can see the great picture of all the different shapes and sizes here. Looks like a lot more stuff to build.
I was looking at it looks like the pipes and stuff that everyone had been seeing before, and some other industrial stuff that we had mentioned earlier. But also it looks like walkways with curvature and some other stuff that wasn't immediately like displayed even at Adepticon when we had access to seeing some other stuff that wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's it almost looks like a conveyor belt or something, the way it's got like ribs on it. And there's a straight piece there too. My favorite part's the diamond-plated see-through flooring stuff. That's cool stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of variety there. Pipes, different things. Plus we get a deluxe gaming mat, which is nice. Another what's it called, mouse pad mats. And also a regular paper one too. So 4 mats, so it should be kind of cool. Do a blend. And more miniatures. You get Blaine on a jet bike, N7117, which is a Pathfinder or a Enforcer leader of some sort. The Piper, which is a Vermin leader. Digital stuff, digital rulebooks and things. Art print like they always do. And your favorite thing, a new short story compilation.
Oh, short stories. No, I actually was hoping that big deal.
No, I just set you up for that one. That was like T-ball.
I had no choice.
It was almost like blatant. Also, from there, you see the Enforcer dogs. They've changed the design, it seems, and I love the new design. Have you to see the picture there of the new design?
And I'm looking at. I kind of liked the old one better.
You are in the minority. Most people.
I know art is subjective, but a little British bulldog-looking guy I thought looked. The concept art you're looking at, again, go to our website and take a look if you wonder what we're talking about. The concept sketches that we're looking at now look exactly like what last podcast you were saying, I wish it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were listening to you or if you got out your crayons and you sent them some sketches yourself and they've just adopted them, but it's exactly what you said you wanted.
Yep.
Whereas at the time, I thought I had said it had a bulldog-looking face and it was a squat-looking thing. I liked the aesthetic of this. This looks like a mastiff, a robotic mastiff, and that's what you were looking for. So
I'd like to think this is the production design and the other one's a prototype, and I hope that they take that prototype and give it to the Rebs or something as something they stole, the old ones. Make it like because the Rebs tend to steal the older versions. Yeah.
This is a Mark V. The Rebs, they're still putting around with a Mark II.
Yep.
The other one had for a tail looked like a little warning light.
Yeah.
And it was quaint and it had a little nostalgic. This looks all business, but I liked the other one. So. Yeah,
but Enforcers don't play fun and nostalgic. They go for mean and mastiffy.
I guess so. I hope you're happy.
So the Kickstarter was a rousing success, and everybody's excited now. We'll see. I think it's going to come by January next year. So it's a long ways to wait, but I'm sure we'll get more concept sketches and things to discuss in that time.
Oh yeah. And we've even on the Kickstarter, that picture you sent along that has all the stuff on there, there's still concept sketches for the Piper and some other ones that they're going to roll out the actual what the models look like. Those are probably not set in stone, so there's going to be stuff to talk about what the final product looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And things always change. They always come up with new ideas and things. So. And hopefully, like last time, they'll do a survey too, where they even have even more stuff.
Yeah, I can see how the success of the first one and how there were still things like Striders coming out and stuff like that. It allows them to keep revealing things, to roll out a little bit here, a little bit there, and people opting into buying. It's a perfect solution. I don't know when Mantics can get too big for Kickstarters, but right now they're the perfect size to be able to do that kind of thing. Hey, it's been 6 months, we had this idea. Do you want it or not?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, some people say they're already too big for it, but I don't think so. They do it well, and we get stuff cheaper than it should be, so I can't complain.
Well, I think we have a little more insight, having a little bit more insight, and I still say that's a very small company. I wouldn't say just yet they're too big.
Yeah, that's what other people just assume that they're a big company, but they're not. I think they have 20 employees or something like that.
Well, and you know what? Maybe when you successfully roll out Kickstarters, ship on time, have the customer interaction that they have, it gives the illusion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a well-oiled machine, a big juggernaut, industrial juggernaut. But I don't know. One day maybe, but for right now, I think it's the perfect situation for Mantic to use, and it's beneficial both ways.
Yep, beneficial for us, and it seems to be working for them. So, well, you might as well take a little Mantic ad here then, and we'll be back after the break.
Enjoy the commercial. We made it just for you. Yes, you.
You have been listening to the Deadzone Podcast with your hosts Jack Fike and Rob Harper. The Deadzone Podcast is dedicated to Deadzone, the tabletop miniature game by Mantic Games. Visit them at manticgames.com.
Hey, this is Pat, North American Community Manager from Mantic Games, and you are listening to Deadzone the Podcast.
And welcome back.
Welcome back. I hope our commercial that we crafted, especially for you, with a special blend of hops and barley and spring water, it was you can't ask for a tastier commercial.
Until the next one.
Then that one might be a little tastier, but it's art is subjective.
To each their own.
So what's next, Rob? What's next on the agenda?
Oh, this is the beginning of a special section, because we're kind of in a quiet time now that after the Kickstarter, after Adepticon, and we thought of an idea to get us through some months here.
Well, we didn't think of the idea. What had happened is Ronnie, when we were talking to him, he had mentioned that there was going to be changes to the rules. I may have spurred that on by blurting out that we wanted initiative rules. And again, at Mantic Night, he did say that there was going to be some rule changes. Deadzone, he didn't say 2.0, but I might as well coin that phrase right now. And at the time, we discussed some of the stuff with him. Now, thinking back, and being inspired by the fact that maybe our input would be helpful.
Yep, we thought of some things to go over. And this one will just be a general, we're just going to think of all the different rules we thought we might want to change, and then in the future episodes we'll go more in depth with them and discuss them to their fullest.
We'll narrow it down, because I know there's a few things that some of the ones that I have my particular bugaboos about the rules or things, and Rob has his own. So I guess this is just going to be us discussing. We'll boil it down to how many are we going to boil it down to that we're going to make a monthly segment out of?
Well, maybe we'll boil it down to as in we'll do the in descending order of we'll start with the ones we care most about, and then we'll keep doing it until we have other things to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Because there going to be only so much stuff we can talk about. But so, want to get into what rules ideas we might be coming up with?
Yeah. We've already discussed a few of them.
Yeah.
We haven't fanboyed that much right from the beginning. We've been pretty straightforward with what we've thought about certain things, and certainly we can't be accused of just filleting the people who made the game. We've been very straightforward in that regard, and being asked what we thought about rules and changes and stuff. Initiative, I've already brought that to the forefront, but one of the ones that I've always wondered about was model speeds, especially now with vehicles being introduced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why fast is fast.
And why certain vehicles only go 2, like a monobike, and the new jet bikes, will they only move 2 speed? Because that makes absolutely no sense.
So for a first one that I think that I would be interested in mulling over with you, my young protagonist, I would say that it would be, since they've asked about rule changes, they've introduced vehicles, changes to movement speed.
Yep. And as well as an initiative, just to skip ahead to that one, is Ronnie wanted to go even farther than we were, kind of sticking close to what the rule should be. We were sticking just slightly changed, but he's talking about a huge overhaul and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we had discussed initiative, but had based our initiative rules around the game mechanic, the true flavor that they had with 3 dice, and it was, when we were discussing with Ronnie, he went. Yeah. He had multiple ways. He'd been thinking about it, and we went back and forth, but when allowed to just steamroll off the top of his head, when he just started going, it got left field. He was moving away from the core mechanic and into a direction that I think that is interesting, but different than the core rules themselves.
Yeah, we'll go into that further later. So going on from an initiative, Ronnie also mentioned skills, and there's a major skill overhaul it looks like it's going to be coming too, and that was interesting. He really thinks that a lot of skills just mean adding or subtracting dice to your rolls, so why doesn't it just say on your stat line, hey, this gives you +1 die, or this takes one, you know.
Yeah, he was, at one point, the skills was something that he said had diverged from his original ideas, and he had said it had convoluted the game a little bit, and especially with expansions and expanding each time they do factions and stuff like that, you could get a whole mess of skills that really can be boiled down onto the stat line.
Yeah, especially as you go, like, instead, you know how, like, he said it's confusing. Okay, Brawler gives you +1, and, you know, Sniper gives you +2, and, like, why don't you just put +2 dice for shooting for a Sniper character? Or when you get even better characters, what are you going to have to make a whole new rule saying +3 dice? Or, you know, like, or if you get vehicles involved, like, they're going to have huge, you know, different things for their weapons or whatever. It's going to be, I'm sure they'll have better stats, right? Because they're vehicles or whatever.
The example that he had used was a Teraton has Brawler because it's big.
Yep.
But because they have the 3 dice mechanic, then they had to have Brawler as a skill. But he said, why wouldn't you just add Brawler with 4 dice?
Yeah.
Or a Teraton with 4 dice.
Yeah,
right
for his attacking, yeah.
For their fight, 1 more dice, and that's because they're just big and they're...
Yeah, so that you can get something even bigger, like the new Plague Beast. He should be like +2 dice at least, right? Because he's huge.
It allows for expansion without adding Brawler and then giving another, you know, you don't need a thesaurus that says, okay, well, this guy can fight better than someone who brawls, so he's add a skill that has 2 dice instead of 1, or...
Well, you see we have all the sheets printed out from Board Game Geek of all the skills and abilities, and it's like 4 or 5 pages at this point. Like, it's a lot of stuff. So yeah, why would you have that when, especially with movement? Once again, is, you know, the Plague is slow. Why don't you just say -1 move, right? Instead of being slow, it's easier to do that instead of having to make up a whole new name for something.
Well, that goes back to model speed, right?
Yeah.
Right there. But yeah, so we'll talk about that for sure. I think we could certainly talk about that. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think we had this discussion in the last podcast, or was it just us shooting the breeze on a nice warm
wintry day?
We were talking about balance.
Yes, that was just us. We were discussing it.
Oh, okay.
Because we got in a little bit of argument because I misunderstood what you meant.
Yeah.
It's because on the last podcast you complained about the Plague Beast, actually. And I thought you were complaining that there wasn't enough balance, but you're saying there wasn't enough variety. I think that was the difference between what we're saying.
That's right. I had snarked a bit. We were talking to Community Pat, and it was during the Kickstarter, and I said, oh, good. The Plague has another slow beast that will only use its fight stat. Ha ha ha. Everyone had a good chuckle. Now, Rob had thought that was because
Yeah, I thought you wanted a balance. You wanted more shooters so you'd have better shooting or whatever. But you were just like, you explained later that it was more about variety. You're just bored with having just a bunch of fighters.
Yeah, and and how I had said it was when we were discussing it, I said, sure, I would like something else for the Plague, but because I say, and this was just an example, say the Plague got a Plague Sniper. Because the Plague got a Plague Sniper, I would get to play with a sniper. Fun for me.
Yeah.
And you said, well, that's game balance. I said, no, not really, because me getting a Plague Sniper doesn't make the Rebs not suck. But it doesn't make the Marauders less OP. And it doesn't make anything else. But you know what I get to do? Use a Plague Sniper. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's for you, though. But for tournament play and stuff like that, it would make the Plague more powerful, right? For you, where you don't care about power, that's fine. It's in the overall balancing of the game, I think it would affect it, right?
And there's the argument in a nutshell. Where does fun, knowing you're going to lose because you chose a faction that you love, where does that stop being... where does that change when you want to win because you're in a tournament, or you want to win because you want to have a 50-50 shot every time you and your buddy sit down to play?
Yeah, or is it like, should they pander to tournaments and try to balance more, or try to just make everybody fun to play? Doesn't matter if you win or lose.
Yeah, who thinks it's important that you always have a chance to win?
Unfortunately, I think the tournament people will win out on that one, but it won't stop us from still fixing things our own way. But we'll discuss that more later.
Yeah. So that's another one that I think is important to kind of take a gander at.
Yep, and also another one that we were thinking of is leadership, and how, I think it might have been even Community Pat, or maybe even Johnny P. One of them was like, it doesn't make much sense to have somebody overseeing the actual board have cards that you can use on anyone, but then the leadership command things can only be used by your leader on certain people. It's like having two separate things.
I think that was us having another discussion at another time, because we were talking about how the command cards can affect anyone on the board as though you were in control. The person, like the player, is the general.
Yeah, from observing from a distance in some way.
But then your leader could only control from certain distances and at a certain time.
Yeah. And
it was as though they had to shout their commands at some point, but then other points they had a radio system.
Yeah.
It seemed like two parallel command systems going on, and we were
thinking of ways why don't you just get rid of one or the other? Which brings us to another thing Ronnie said, was that this is happening, we just don't know how much it's happening, is the removal of the card system from the game. Pretty much we know stat cards are gone, and we know mission cards are gone. Because instead of stat cards, he was very up on stat lines, which gives you more variety in building and changing things, and you can always put out new stat lines for a group who are OP or fix them in some way. Or even if you want to build an army by okay, this guy's going to have this gun, or kind of WYSIWYG it, or you can do that easily with stat lines more than stat cards. And mission cards, he said they just not enough variety in mission cards, and it sounds like they're going to go with a more campaign kind of setting more.
Now the stat cards, I can see. I like them for tapping and keeping track.
Yeah, that's the only reason we use them.
And if they went, I would go, okay, well, I'll figure something out. The mission cards are great. I hope they stay with the original board game.
Oh, they will for sure. None of this is going to affect the original game, I don't think.
it's a great way to, maybe fight to the death at the beginning. Stack card or the mission cards, put them aside, fight to the death with small little what comes with the box, little strike teams. Mission cards, broaden the horizon a little bit. Oh, okay, change it up a little bit. They have their place.
It shows you what you can do with it, kind of, and then you can expand from there in actual missions.
But yeah, we'll talk about that later. I'm already starting to get into the topics.
Yeah, yeah. We're trying to just do an overview here. So if anybody, that's pretty much all we have. If anybody else has any ideas what different rules changes or something for us to discuss, either give us a email at deadzonepodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on the Twitter, or even comment on our webpage, which nobody does unless there's a contest.
Well, yeah, because this is just what we're coming up off the top of our heads. There's got to be some other stuff. There's got to be some other things that are grinding your gears that you want to see changed. Now's the time. Not every game's perfect, especially not a one-off. Like this is a year-old game.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that this game is not even 2 years old yet.
We're the research and development. It's a evolving thing, and there's got to be something that that game groups have encountered. You've encountered. You sitting there right now, or screaming at your radio, like, why don't you understand? This is my most hated thing about Dead Zone. You must know. Well, let us know. Or
if you really like some of those things, you like the fact that how the initiative works, or you like the cards, let us know that too. We'll talk about that in those sections.
Yeah.
So we'll have another break here. We'll be back to do some of our stuff.
Our stuff. Come on back, and we'll tell you about our stuff.
Our stuff. It's like the Stuff, the movie. It's that white gooey thing.
Yeah.
It is time for a brief message from our friends at Iron Watch Magazine.
Do you like Mantic Games? Do you want to read about your favorite games in a monthly magazine? Have we got the offer for you? Iron Watch Magazine. Iron Watch brings you the latest news, articles, and short stories taking place in the Mantic universe. Dreadball, Kings of War, Dead Zone, Warpath. You want it? They got it. Ironwatch.wordpress.com. Get it now for the low price of free. You can't beat that at twice the price. That's ironwatch.wordpress.com. Download now.
Welcome back to the Dead Zone Podcast. Now for a segment we call Our Stuff.
And welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned and listening to our Iron Watch commercial. It's whoever that masked man is who did the voiceover for that, I commend him. Kudos to you, sir. Kudos. And now, we're going to talk about our stuff.
Our stuff, yes. And first we'll talk about your stuff.
My stuff. Now this, I didn't have that much in the way of stuff. My hobbying was pretty limited. I did want to try out the new Reaper paint that I got at Adepticon. So the first thing I did was I had I think he was from a Crazy Box. I keep calling him Squirtle, but his name's actually Snorkel.
He's from Dreadball Extreme.
Dreadball Extreme, okay. And I decided to paint him up. One, because I wanted to test out the paints. Two, because I have Wrath of Kings, an aquatic faction, and I wanted to kind of do a tester on young Snorkel to see what I wanted to do for them. So as you can see, if you're following along, that is Snorkel there in his dapper armor and looking blue and aquatic.
Yep. And you got some nice blending and highlights there, and you did your armor. You said you did the armor in how many different types of gray?
You can barely tell, but you can see that it's a alternating light and dark gray with some other grays. I think there's 3 or 4 grays that I used because the kit, the Reaper miniature paint came with, I think, 3 grays, that were meant for moving up from darker to lighter, plus another one that was a bonus. Don't quote me on that. Either way, I was just using subtlety, seeing how the whole thing was an exercise in just learning the paints, using how to be subtle. So
I really like the texture on his. You can see it in the one that shows his back, on his tail section. I like the texture you got going there.
Yeah, I'm just dry brushing away. I've done that before with other paints, where you let it dry on the brush and then you just kind of drag it, and it kind of gives the skin a look. Well, now I'm looking at mold lines, though. Look at that mold line, big white mold line right down the side. I should have taken care of that first.
Well, you're gonna get mold lines.
But anyway, you just let the paint dry on the brush and you just drag it, let it skip across the top, and it makes it look like it's got.
It's almost
texture.
scaly, almost. You got like a scaly texture.
Your camera picks it up much better than the naked eye can. That's it in my mind. The actual practical on the model itself, it's not as defined. But speaking of which, the rust effect on that scenery that he's standing on.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty rusty. It looks like that in real life, though. It really is rusty.
But your camera really makes it pop.
Once in a while, it works well.
And then the other thing I did is I did 2 of the tree guys. I don't know where they must be from Dreadball Extreme as well.
Yep. I don't know their names, but they're tree guys.
Well, and so I used the paints, the yellows and the greens that Reaper paint. Really, really nice to work with. The coverage, the pigments, fantastic. Since I did them, Rob stopped by and got another one from a Crazy Box.
No, that was from my prize at Mantic Open Night.
Oh, that's right.
It was the box set with all the Dreadball Extreme Mercenaries, or whatever they call them, MVPs, I think they're called. So that's what that was from. So you got another tree man.
So as you see those tree men there, they look slightly different now. Because I have a third one, I couldn't have them all looking the same. So I've had to mod even the ones that I painted. And also I used a Minwax. I have a finish that I kind of use as a wash on brown things. It's Minwax mahogany, and I used it on the trees, and it darkened them up a little bit, and I wanted to lighten them up, so I did some dry brushing over that, and now with a third one to do, I've had to do some modding. So long story short, there they are. There's some tree guys with some big claws and some tongues sticking out.
Yep, and lastly you did the Crystalline MVP.
Which of all of them, I've been looking forward to the Crystallines, and especially like the clear ones, the ones that were
the actual like team will be in clear, like in colored plastic, like colored PVC kind of stuff, or colored whatever they use, resin, I guess. And this one wasn't. This one's just the gray.
It was just a standard, and the sculpt didn't blow me away. But again, I was just seeing what my paints could do, the new paint, the new everything, how it reacted with the washes. So there he is. I basically painted up what amounts to a Crystalline in the tattered remains of armor. I wasn't blown away with the sculpt, but I was able to play with the colors and experiment. So
I think he looks awesome.
Well, thank you, but he served his purpose. I'm not going to complain.
The only thing I don't like about him is his back arm, the one pointing back, like he's about to throw something. I like his front arm, the way he's reaching out.
He's got like a giant pickaxe of stone, and at first, when I first saw it looked like because you had given him to me, I thought maybe that you had like glued the ones together from the Extreme.
Yeah, but no, that's just the way he came.
And I thought, that's a pretty bold, like I don't mind a dynamic pose, but That looks awkward. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, Rob made an executive decision.
No,
But
it came like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's just the way he is. And I wouldn't have put his arm back like that. But comes right down to it. He was he served his purpose as a canvas for experimentation. So thank you, Chris Stalin. You've done your job.
And now on to me. I just painted up my last enforcer for a long while, I assume. And that was my enforcer captain for my checkmate army. And I did them just like the rest of them, with the gold and the bluish black and the brown bits. But I got to use my washes on, you can see on his wrist blade, he's got the dried blood wash on it. And the ground's got some of the dried blood and some other washes on there. And I tried to do a scenic base kind of for him, too.
It is a little more decorative than your usual bases, and yeah, it looks good.
And yeah, I did some grass tufts on the base and some just I think it was at Mantic Neck. A lot of the necks were put onto pieces of the battle zone's terrain.
I was just about to say that with the amount of people that mounted their miniatures on bits of that terrain, it would serve Mantic well to. You could use the same molds and all that, but make 1-inch bits, base bits.
Yeah, they don't do any bases. Like, their bases are pretty. They just have their insert bases, and even then they don't have all the sizes. They only really have the one size base for each.
We saw so many with just bits of that battered terrain. Some of them were pretty big chunks. Some of them were like you have, just barely cresting the edges of the bases,
Or standing on barrels, or.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's somewhere they could definitely go that they haven't gone yet. And yeah, that was our stuff. And we'll quickly move on to a review from someone else's stuff.
Okay. Well, then let's review the hell out of it.
And now, a review from your hosts at the Deadzone Podcast.
Once again, Julian Hicks from Tabletop Towns had a Kickstarter, and this was for his Tabletop Town tiles. And these are 3x3, mostly 3x3 squares. There's some different odd-shaped ones, like there's hallways and longer rooms. But you can see in the pictures here, you can make either little hallways to fight through, and they're the great size for a Deadzone because they are 3x3. Or you can use them to supplement a board already, or put them together and make one big room. And they're double-sided, so there's two different things. Usually, you got passageways on one side and big rooms on the other. And they're on plasticard, and I think they look awesome.
They were when I first saw them. There's multiple sizes. There's open and closed doors, and then there's little hallways. But some of the tiles, they've all got a unified aesthetic. But some of them are different, and they kind of spoke to me. And that sounds stupid, but some of them, they all have the same aesthetic. But some of them are like, oh, well, that was an interesting thing to do on that tile. Like some of them have like acid holes burnt through the grating, and some of them have some other stuff, like some tools laying. One of the tiles, I don't know if it's in any of these pictures, but has a tool laying beside a grate, and just a lot of attention to detail for something that really is not even not necessary, but certainly time and effort was put into these plastic card tiles.
Yep, they are like just an addition that you can use for any game. It doesn't have to be for Deadzone, obviously, but even just to make hallways to connect two buildings or something, or to do like an underground where you can say, okay, this is underneath the board or something. There's tunnels and stuff you can fight through, or just to supplement the Deadzone boards. I think we can use them in that. It should be fun.
Well, for sure, and we're gonna have to find a way to use them, and we'll certainly, if at the very least, you could make a small room, a small something or other as an addition to what you're already playing with, and we're going to have to do that sometime soon, and we'll continue reviewing, although we've used his stuff before. Like, we've got those cargo containers now, we've had, I I would be fairly certain I could give a review right now if you were to put a gun to my head and say, give me a score. I think I could do it.
Okay, what's the score that you're going to give?
Having not actually played on them, but it's just a plastic tile, and it's obvious that they would function in that regard. I would give a 4.5 Geiger-esques out of 5.
Yes, they're definitely they definitely have like an alien aesthetic to them. There's like what's it called, hatches and things, and like you say, acid burns in the grating and stuff. You could definitely replicate an alien game there. And
the brown, it's pipes and tubes and wires and stuff like that surround the outside have a
yeah, for sure. That's definitely, I think, an influence for them.
So yeah, that would be my rating, because like I said, I started flipping through them and I'm like, these are really nice.
And another neat thing about them is, like, the whole deck probably can do a 4x4 board, but it's only how small in your hand. You know, like, you have a lot of little, like you can almost build a whole board from something so portable. Like, that's kind of neat too. Like, if you're traveling a lot with your game and you want to just set up a quick board, you just get a few of these sets and you could just set up a board pretty easily and play on it.
Just randomly, boom, 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 boom. Just start firing a board down. Next thing you know, it's a different. You've never played on that board.
That's actually, now you say random. You use it like a random deck where you're like, okay, I'm going to the next room. What's there? You pull out a card, put it down. Like, you could almost make an adventure game out of Deadzone with it.
Where, yeah,
like a tile, like a dungeon crawler.
Patent pending.
Yeah. So we'll have to try that out. That might be very interesting. So yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. As always, Julian. It's always on time, great prices, and always beautiful work. He's got his guy Mortis working on stuff, and it's always so crisp detail and beautifully printed. So it's just another grand slam from him.
You can look at the pictures. You can see we're not blowing smoke. They're beautiful looking. They're playable, obviously. But you said they came on time?
Oh, yeah. Unlike every other Kickstarter.
He's batting 1,000 for that, isn't he?
Yeah. He's never been late.
Wow, that's pretty rare.
Because this is our third Kickstarter we backed for him, and every single one have come right on time, and great stuff.
Excellent.
And so go to Tabletop Towns on Facebook or tabletoptowns.co.uk and check them out. I think they're going to be on sale quite soon, so that'll be great. And we'll go for a quick ad, and we'll come back for our last segment, and then wrap this puppy up.
Be prepared to have your ears assaulted with the sounds of Adam Voxman's ad that is at such the decibels equal that of, say, an aircraft carrier deck during a flight, during the takeoff of fighter aircraft.
It's weird, because it's not, the decibels aren't that high. He just has a way of penetrating your brain. I'm not sure how he does it.
It is time for a brief message from our friends at One More Radio.
This is the Strike Zone.
Yo, Dreadball fans, the Strike Zone podcast is all about entertaining, educating, and informing you about everything Dreadball. We record twice a month, are an hour long, and are child-friendly. You can look us up on iTunes with the keywords Dreadball and Strike Zone, or on our main website, www.warmoreradio.com.
Enter the Strike Zone.
We now return to the Deadzone Podcast. We now present to you a Deadzone Battle Report.
And welcome back from that wonderful ad. And we have a battle report of sorts. It's a different type of battle report because in this, Jack invented something called civilian rules, and we're going to go over it and discuss these new way to play.
Patent pending.
So, Jack, explain your civilian rules to the fine listeners.
They are right now in the very beta testing stages. It came down to a discussion Rob and I were having about ways to mix up a game with the zombie rules, it was a fun way to do co-op games where two people could, battle one foe, and just a war of attrition thing, and that had its place. And I was thinking that maybe something similar with more mission card-esque type thing, and what I came up with is civilians. People trapped in the Dead Zone world, like the world's a dead zone. Whomever couldn't get off the planet before, whatever strike teams are now, whatever enterprises they're doing, whether they were too poor to leave, too stubborn to leave, what would happen if you're in the middle of what you're doing with Dead Zone and there's innocent victims, innocent civilians scattered around the battle zone?
Yeah, it's a logical next step, really.
It's just something, even in a campaign, where you could just insert a nuance.
Yep, and it really changes what the game's about, because you're no longer just fighting your faction. You're really, because really the missions are like either kill the civilians, save the civilians, get the civilians out, or there's a bunch of different variants you have there. And it really makes it more tactical, the game. And explain about the how the civilians move away from everybody. And
okay, well, to start with, the big difference, the big thing about the civilians is they're really just terrified. They don't want to be involved, and they only react. They don't have their own turn per se, but they react to the actions that they hear and see. They have a very limited range, a 4-cube range where they can, of line of sight, because they're basically cowering behind things. They're not. They'll peek around, but they're not.
Yeah, they're not like a faction who's actually purposely there to look at things and search things out. These guys are hiding, so they're not purposely looking farther than their immediate area.
And they're not reacting to, say, sounds, because whereas if they see something, it's an immediate threat, but the sounds of combat around them outside of that area,
they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere, and the civilians feel that they're safe right where they are. And in fact, one of the mechanics is, one of the special rules is that they start to try and they clump up. They start safety in numbers, especially if they find some cover. They'll start moving on as reaction towards each other, and then I'm still working on it. Sometime very soon, maybe at the time of the release of this podcast, we'll have the beta of it. But if you look at the pictures, we used zombies to represent the civilians. My first reason for doing this, to be honest, is I wanted to use the Mantic models that I got from Dead Zone, or from Dreadball, and from some of the other stuff that I would never use because we don't play those games, but it would be fun to have running around on a board. We happen to be using zombies if you're looking at the pictures.
Because we have a lot of them.
Because we have a lot of them. And so yeah, that is it. Basically, in a nutshell, randomly you had to decide whether through cards, drawn mission card-esque type sitch, where you had to either take control of the civilian, which meant that you had to go in one square away. You had to do a skill test, get your target civilian, take him under your control, and move him off your side of the board. You either had to make all the civilians escape, which you had to take control of them, but then they moved under your command moves, your allotted moves. You had to move them as though they were your figures off any edge, or you had to kill them.
Yeah, and we played 2 games in this session, and I was the Forge Fathers, you were the Enforcers. And I believe the first game you had to get them off the board? Is that what happened? And I had to, my mission was to kill them, and that was fun.
Yeah. And again, we were just play testing some variants, and we enjoyed it.
Yeah, because especially at the end, because I killed enough to win, and then you had your sniper ready to shoot me, and I was like, "Hey, I'm just withdrawing," and I just withdrew, and then you don't have to. We never fought each other once in that game.
No, which is what I knew it couldn't be it couldn't be co-op, which is fun and is enjoyable in and itself. I'm looking forward to when we were able to play co-op, but it didn't have to be a combat either, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, we had missions that may or may not be against each other, but
now there were a couple scuffles.
Well, that was the second game. You decided to attack me, so no, you shot one of my zombies or one of my civilians. So my dwarves got angry and started hammering on you.
And then we scuffled a little bit, but again, now you won both games, but they were within a couple points by the point systems we had. So
in the first game, I only won because I happened to a group of civilians spawned right near me, and I just hosed them down, and that gave me a lot of points right off the bat. So it was that was kind of unfair, that one. We after that we discussed changing the rules slightly so that that wouldn't happen again. And yeah, the second one was a good fight, and you almost got you had a drone because you were just using some random list you had, and the little drone almost made it in there to stop my civilians from escaping, but he didn't quite make it.
No.
But it was super tactical because they start running away from you and you have to kind of herd them. And then the other side of the board, your enforcer captain just went kill crazy and started just massacring them, which was hilarious.
Yeah, because the fluff, the story behind why enforcers have to kill them, that's kind of up to the player. And the way we did it was once we got the cards that said, okay. Some of the cards say you have to tell your opponent what your mission is. Some don't. Some say you had one of the three things you had to do. And I forget what you said. The Forge Fathers, why they had to save all the civilians that they could out of the battle zone.
Well, the first game where I was killing them all, I said that they found out about our illegal mining operation on the planet, and we had to clean up our mess. And then the second game, I said I was capturing them for slave labor in our mines.
Right. And I think I had to kill a specific target.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, no, you had to rescue... No, you had to rescue a ambassador. That's what you were doing.
The second one, yeah, I had to take him, and so many successes I was able to take him, and I had to try and move him off my edge of the board. Yeah, but...
So yeah, you're saying you were but you didn't care about anybody else, so you were willing to kill any other civilian as long as you got that one guy.
Right. And if I had to clear out some of the detritus civilians around him to make my success more probable, well, then I had to do that. And that's what I had to do.
They were pretty heartless.
Well, that's the enforcer way.
Yeah. It was a fun game. It's like I say, very tactical. You don't realize how tactical it is until you're like, okay, I got to move here. Oh, they saw me, so I have to make sure I hide so they don't see me. Sneak up on them. Okay, I'm within one. Okay, I can try to command them to say, hey, come over here. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So yeah, hopefully we can release something very soon and maybe get some feedback. Throw it out there to the ether. See if anyone wants to use it or not.
I really enjoy us keep making these new scenarios for this and for the game, and it seemed to be fun. Just totally different scenarios, and other people are doing it too. Look at the JP's mech fights, and Pat made up that escape to the escape shuttle one, and
right.
There was like a bunch of different ones. Everybody's kind of doing different variations on the game, and I think that's almost more interesting than just playing the regular old missions.
That's why they're looking at pitching those mission cards, because they serve a purpose, but at some point the people are able to tweak, invent.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the beginning of like D&D and stuff, where there was modules, and then all of a sudden you started getting modules, which changed it. It wasn't just going into a dungeon and killing things. It became, you got a certain mission, like certain almost role playing. Really, it's kind of neat.
Yeah. Well, so if you're looking at the pictures and seeing what we were up to on there, and you notice that there's a lot of fire all over the place, that is because
you're obsessed with fire.
And if you want to learn how to do that, Especially that there's on the last picture that's on there, there's a big chunk of fire just burning on the top of that building. That is the 3 fires that I made in the Making Fire videos that you can find on YouTube that I then modified into one massive bonfire. So,
Yep, that's Professor Jack's Hobby School on YouTube. You can either search that, or it's on the Deadzone channel. You go to either just search Deadzone Podcast on YouTube, or you can actually go to our URL, which is youtube.com/c/Deadzone the Podcast. So it's nice to have an actual vanity URL for YouTube.
Yeah, a little easier to remember, easier to find if you have to. I'm glad you were able to figure that out.
Well, they sent us things saying, hey, you've been around long enough, you can have a vanity URL.
Nice.
Yep. And so, I think that might wrap up this show.
I think it does. We had a good time.
It was
made lots of friends.
Fun as always. Are you putting on your sweater, vest, and getting your shoes to go out the door, Mr. Rogers?
I would say that it's coveralls and perhaps a miner's helmet, but don't judge.
Nice. So
yeah, I think that also wraps up this episode, episode 33 of the Deadzone Podcast. Thank you for joining us. It's been a slice. My name is Jack.
I've been Rob, and thank you for listening to Deadzone the Podcast.
We
see
appreciate it.
Yep, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Deadzone Podcast. I have been your announcer, William Randolph Wintergreen. Visit the website, deadzonegame.podbean.com. Email your hosts at deadzonepodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter, you can follow the show at Deadzone Podcast. The Deadzone Podcast is a production of Vinland Old Time Radio Productions. You have been listening to the Deadzone Podcast. And now, a word from the fine folks at Vinland Old Time Radio.
Vinland Old Time Radio. It is to laugh.
Astro!
Ahoy there, Dirigible.
It's a gavel, a haunted gavel.
Have you read The King in Yellow?
Africa's a continent?
It's with great protest.
Ooh, now that's a fine program. VinlandOldTimeRadio.podbean.com